get right into the trade. I'm actually surprised how quickly the De'Aaron Fox trade to San Antonio materialized, especially because of the third team that's involved that I don't think anyone was anticipating or expecting. However, this is how the trade breaks down. The Spurs are going to receive De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin, basically D. Fox. The Kings receive Zach LaVine, 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. And then the Bulls receive for Zach LaVine, Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and they just received their own 2025 pick back from San Antonio. So the first thing that comes to my mind is someone needs to check on Kenny.
This trade's terrible.
Right now, somebody needs to check on Kenny because I did not think, and out of all the teams that could have occurred in this 3-team trade, I did not believe that Zach LaVine would have been the piece to make this transaction work, to get the gears going for De'Aaron Fox to end up in San Antonio, because I didn't believe that Chicago was going to receive such a piss-poor return. Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and your own draft pick back this year? That's all you got in return? Be very mindful that LaVine is playing the best basketball we've seen out of him, maybe in his entire career, but certainly in the last couple of seasons. 24 points, like 4 or 5 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists, whatever those numbers are. Shooting splits of like 51, 45, 80 in those ballparks. But more importantly, bro, he's playing games. 42 games played out of the first 50 so far this season. That was the biggest question mark for him. And so even though, yes, you could still argue that he's not living up to the $40-some million he's getting paid, he's certainly getting closer to it. And there's so many teams now that we've gone throughout halfway through the season who reek of desperation that I would have thought that you would have been able to at least match this offer, if not give more. Oh my God, they didn't even get their own first round back. Sacramento didn't even get their own first round back.
They're really shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh my God.
Sacramento's slow as hell.
It's not really 3 first rounders. This Charlotte pick, without a doubt, is going to be 2 second rounders. That's a lottery protected pick. It's going to translate into 2 second rounders because it's not going to convey. So they basically really only got 2 first rounders, one of which is from San Antonio in 2027. But San Antonio now has De'Aaron Fox. So that pick, is not going to be of value. Best thing right now, Sacramento is crossing their fingers, hoping for that Minnesota implodes on themselves and Anthony Edwards wants out. If you're the Spurs, you came out with a lick. No Vassell, no Castle. All your picks that you have, you really only gave up 2 first rounders that are valuable. One of which is your own pick that won't be that valuable because you're going to be of substance in 2 years now that you have De'Aaron Fox. You already own some of Sacramento's picks. You didn't even give those back except for a 2028 second rounder. I want to make sure I preface this just so we're all clear about what just is occurring. So when I tell you all how much of a loser 2 franchises are in this, it's ridiculous. The Spurs, again, got De'Aaron Fox while keeping a slew of draft capital. 6 out of their 7 picks, 2 unprotected from Atlanta, pick swaps from Atlanta in 2026, pick swap from Boston, pick swap from the more favorable one from Dallas and Minnesota in 2030, and still was able to keep the rights to the pick swap for Sacramento in 2031. Oh, shout out to the Spurs. This right here is A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ A plus, plus to the highest order of being plus. The Bulls have traded DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Chris Duarte, 2 second-round picks, and the rights to their own 2025 pick from the Spurs. Not one additional first-round pick for DeMar, Zach LaVine, and Alex Caruso. Not one additional first-round pick. Mark Stein says, league sources say the Warriors did seriously explore trade constructions that would have brought Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, Big Vooch, to the Bay before Golden State opted to focus on other trade pursuits. What other trade pursuits? What other what, Jimmy? Y'all better have gotten LeBron. Because let's call a spade a spade. I would rather have Zach LaVine than Jimmy Butler on my roster anyway. Jimmy is mad old. Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, chat, I'm not even joking. If the Warriors pulled out on a potential Zach LaVine trade, knowing what the Bulls basically got in return for Zach LaVine, and I know for a fact the Warriors could have beaten that offer. If they pulled out on a Zach LaVine trade to go after Jimmy Butler, it's done. If you are a Warriors fan, it's done. You have to stop rooting for that franchise. I want everyone to be very, very mindful. Where we started off throughout this entire process was that we're not willing to give Klay Thompson the contract that he's looking for because it didn't make any financial sense. But we're going to turn around and give it to Jimmy Butler? We're not willing to leverage our future for Zach LaVine or Lauri Markkanen, but we're going to do it for Jimmy Butler? We're laughing at the Kings. Hey, chat, I got y'all on the screen now. We're laughing at the Kings. Sacramento, you're telling me that the Bulls were able to get their pick. The Spurs got so much draft capital, in particular their own draft capital, and a bunch of Atlanta picks. You're telling me the only real draft pick of substance that you got from a De'Aaron Fox trade was a 2031. You couldn't even get your own pick back. The Bulls somehow were able to still get their pick back from San Antonio this year. And many people are going to run around and tell you how, Sacramento got 3 firsts. Again, for clarification, that Charlotte pick is lottery protected, will then turn into 2 second rounders. And so they really only got 2 firsts, one of which is from San Antonio in only 2 years, but you made them better. So it's not going to be a value. It's going to be a late first rounder. And you're crossing your fingers and hoping that Minnesota implodes on themselves. But that won't translate until 2031. You're telling me you're about to go out there with the roster that consists of what? Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis. Nigga, what is that? You just went from being 8th to 7th. And in the process of doing so, lost a younger player, a more valuable player, and still are in poverty. You made a lateral move and got someone in there that you don't even know is going to stay long term. You did nothing more but prolong the inevitable. You decided, instead of just blowing it up, instead of going after a Vassell, a Castle, more draft pick, instead of doing any of that, you rather stay mediocre? But I know why that is. Because every young player you get, every draft pick you get, you fuck it up. Every single last one. It's been your track record for 16, now about to be 20 years.
Yo,
so I get it now. You live in it. You bask in it. You got an address in it. You get mail in it. And it's nothing but poverty and mediocrity. The Sacramento Mediocres. That's your new team now. You thrive for 7 seeds. You march into 8th seeds. You celebrate first round exits because that's all it's ever going to be. It screams to me 44 wins, play-in tournament, first round exit, swept in the first round by OKC. It screams that. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. And just when you think it couldn't get worse for the Warriors, it does.
On the ground,
Heat's Jimmy Butler has communicated to the Warriors that he's unwilling to sign an extension there, and therefore trade talks to send him to Golden State have ended for now. We just read the report that the Warriors were in conversations to get Vooch and LaVine pulled out so they can focus on someone else. Now, Windhorst is telling us that Jimmy Butler has now communicated with them that he's not going to sign a contract extension. So we now know that they pulled out of the Zach LaVine sweepstake to go get Jimmy Butler just for Jimmy Butler to tell them, even I'm not going to sign an extension there. I'll be honest with you, chat. The Warriors might actually be an even bigger loser in this transaction. The Warriors might be the biggest loser. Lots to unpack with the Warriors, who attempted to make some big swings over the last 72 hours. Not only did they call for the Suns to get Kevin Durant, but they also held deep talks with the Bulls to get LaVine and Vooch. But then everything shifted towards Jimmy Butler. They went from Kevin Durant to Zach LaVine and Vooch to then voluntarily shifting to Jimmy Butler. Just for him to then tell them, I'm not signing an extension. Last night, there was so much speculation and talk amongst teams and league personnel about if LeBron to the Warriors would become a real possibility. But now it appears that James is staying in LA. Golden State continues to be stuck in the mud when it comes to the trade deadline. I don't think I have ever in my life seen a franchise step up to the plate and swing and miss so many times in trying to add talent to a roster when there were so many obvious ways to doing so. So again, we got to go back. They had draft picks. Instead of trading them for veteran pieces, they decided not to. With those draft picks, they swung and missed on Wiseman instead of getting LaMelo. They swung and missed on Kuminga instead of getting Franz. They swung and missed on Moody instead of getting Trey Murphy. All of that. That's 4 right there. Then this nigga punched the shit out of Jordan Poole. He's gone for Chris Paul. That's 5 right there. Then you had the ability to get Chris Paul for Zach LaVine during the offseason. You let him walk for nothing. That's 6 right there. Then you could have kept Klay Thompson and have him on the roster and just ride it out like you're about to basically ride it out to the sunset right now. You let him walk for basically nothing. That's 7 right there. Then after you told him, Klay Thompson, hey, we ain't got the money for you, but we'll give it to Paul George, then that fell apart. That's 8 right there. Then Lauri Markkanen was available for B-Pod. You said no to that. That's 9 right there. Then you're telling me you have Vooch and LaVine again. You said no, I'm going to pivot to Jimmy Butler. That's 10 right there. Then Jimmy Butler told you, no. That's 11 right there. Then you got your hopes up for LeBron to the Warriors. That's 12 right there. Then you try to get Kevin Durant on the roster. He said no. That's 13 right there. Nigga, that's 13 attempts. 13 opportunities to add pieces next to Curry, all of which swung out. I'll be honest with y'all, bro. This is a trade where there is only one real winner. Like, the more and more I just think about it, it's only one winner in this trade. It's the Spurs. The Spurs got the point guard that they needed without giving up any young players, without really moving off of any draft picks. The Bulls traded a player that they should have been moved, but in return, the only thing they got in return for Zach LaVine is Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick back. That's it. That bar is extremely low. Every team that was looking for LaVine, that's a package that you easily could have beaten. But now you're telling me the Warriors pull out of that deal to try to get Jimmy Butler just for Jimmy Butler to then tell everybody, I'm not going to sign here long term, so you better not trade for me. And then the Kings, trading De'Aaron Fox, only get really 2 first rounders, one of which is to San Antonio after you gave them De'Aaron Fox. And another one doesn't translate to 2031, and you go from being mid to average.
It's 2025, and you're still using the same cable network? Frontier Fiber is here. Get this amazing deal before it's gone. Switch now for just $29.99 per month. Get free premium Wi-Fi and free expert installation. Frontier Fiber, good to go.
Now taxes is getting up to $4,000 instantly.
We all did a double take. at our phone this weekend like, is this actually real? And it is. Huge trade. Let's get right into it. We got a whole crew. Of course, the Hall of Famers, Shannon Sharpe, Brian Windhorst, and Stephen A. in L.A. My goodness, gentlemen, how are we feeling?
Great. Ready to roll?
All right, let's dive right in. So the trade
I
that's
feel
done
real
the
good, Mom. I
sports
feel
world.
real good.
Yeah, you're feeling good? Okay. Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. The 25-year-old Doncic arrived in Los Angeles last night and met with Lakers GM Rob Pelinka. LeBron James intends to stay with the Lakers beyond Thursday's NBA trade deadline. A source familiar with his plans confirmed to ESPN. All right, out of the gate, guys, I just want your reaction, Stephen A., when you first heard this.
Oh, I was shocked. I was shocked because I couldn't believe that any franchise, it's the biggest shock that I've ever seen covering the NBA all of these years, guys. Luka's 25 years old. He averaged 34 last year. He's a career 28-point per game scorer, universally recognized as one of the top 5 players in the world. Not to mention, being from Slovenia, he has global appeal. He is an iconic international basketball brand, which explains on the Lakers side, that's an easy one. They got their succession plan in place. You've secured one of the biggest stars for the next decade. So this is what the Lakers do because their primary source of income is their basketball franchise, obviously. It's not one of them owners that got, this is a side gig. This is it. So this is what the Lakers do, and they always secure a big-time star. In the case of the Dallas Mavericks, to have that star in your possession and for him to be gone just left me with a raised eyebrow. You're hearing a lot of things about conditioning, lack of dedication, the fact that it became much of a headache for them. Very, very frustrating. He's scheduled to come back February 8th, Shannon, from his calf injury. And then they're telling folks, well, you know what? That's really not up to us. It's up to his team. And when you think about orchestrating a champion, just assembling a championship squad, they felt, despite his greatness, he was an impediment to that, as opposed to, being something that was a contributor to that. Again, there's one of the top 5 players on the planet, and you're shocked by that. So I looked at it from that standpoint, and I said, there's so much more to this that we don't know. There is so much more of this that speaks to their level of frustration and, dare I say, potential fury, no matter what they say, no matter what they try to deny. Shannon, do you realize by sending Luka to Los Angeles, he is no longer eligible for the Supermax? They've cost him over $100 million by trading him from Dallas to LA and didn't care. In the end, you take all of that into consideration. There's so much more to this story. Kyrie, the ball's going to be in his hands. Him and Anthony Davis is going to be the cornerstones offensively. You get all of that stuff. LeBron James, what's he going to do? Even though everybody's saying he's staying, some people saying he should waive his no-trade clause, go to the state of New York. We'll get into all of that later. But this move, to see somebody of Luka's caliber be traded like this, not to be told. Even his agent, Bill Duffy, didn't know, who's a veteran, one of the great, great agents this business has ever known. He didn't know. Luka didn't know. You don't see that happening very often. There's definitely a change in the landscape. Owners are loving this. It's sending the right kind of message in their eyes. We're the ones in control, not them. All of that comes into play with this one move. It was a statement being made, as far as I'm concerned, not just by the Dallas Mavericks, but by the league. And I think the fallout is going to be dramatic, to say the least.
Absolutely. I think there's just 2 absolutely fascinating things. One, on the Dallas side, they had Luka Doncic under what they say in the league, under control, okay? He had qualified for the Supermax. That meant that this summer they were going to sign him to a 5-year extension. The ability to lock down a player in his mid-20s who's one of the greatest players in the league on a 5-year extension is the dream for franchises. That's what the Thunder can do with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this summer. And I'm telling you, on June 30th, Oklahoma State troopers are going to be there to escort the piece of paper into this house so that the paper doesn't blow away in the wind to make sure that they sign it. That's how amazing it is. And the Mavericks looked at that and said, you know what? We don't think he's worth $350 million. We can't stomach even giving it to him. So that's one unbelievable situation with a 25-year-old guy who's been a 5-time first-team All-NBA player. I just want to point something out. Steph Curry hasn't made first-team All-NBA 5 times. This guy's 25. He's already done that. Okay. Then you have the Lakers side. They just hit a grand slam. All right? They were not going anywhere this year. They may have gotten hot at the right time and healthy at the right time, LeBron and AD played great at the right time, and they may have gotten to the second round of the playoffs. But this team had a ceiling on it, which is one of the reasons why there was such, hope that they could use their their trade assets to somehow get a player like this. They now not only are able to make an incredible value trade. That's right. I just said they traded Anthony Davis, who is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it was a value trade because they got incredible value for him because they get a 25-year-old who is not even in his prime yet, who has the potential to be a dominant player for the next decade. And that they, Stephen A., get to sign him to that 5-year contract this summer. And they get to do it at a $100 million discount that they wouldn't have to play if he was on the Supermax. Now, a lot of how this is going to work is going to depend on what the Lakers do going forward from here, because they have to use what they still have and build a team around him. They've got incredibly important decisions to make going forward. They've got to get the most out of Luka, which the Mavericks apparently didn't think they could do. But those two things happening in the same moment were incredible in the history of the league.
You give eye exams.
I give fresh starts, better vision, healthy eyes. Everybody wants that.
Hero Doc saves vision.
Well,
Hero Owl saves money. Use your vision insurance for exams, glasses, and contacts, all at America's Best.
Stephen A., I was shocked. Stephen A. and I was texting because the Lakers had just beaten the Knicks. Yes. And so I was going, Stephen A. and I was going back and forth. He sending emojis. I'm sending emojis. And then I'm like, WTF, is this real? Because the last time Shams really sent something out, it was the Kawhi. And I thought he was hacking again. So I'm like, ain't no way. There's no possible way that the Dallas Mavericks are trading a 25-year-old, because we've never seen a 25-year-old unless he has requested, said I'm not re-signing, and they move him to get assets. But to say, nah, we don't need your request. We're moving on. And guys, I hate getting into conjecture. I hate getting into speculation and innuendo. But the first thing I'm like, what must have Luka done? This is what Nico Harrison said. I just say there's levels to it. There are people that fit the culture, and there's people that come in and add to the culture. And those are two distinct things. I believe the people that are coming in are adding to the culture. Anytime I hear that word culture, guys, my ears perk up. My ears perked up about 2 years ago when Rick Carlisle would not sign an extension. Stephen A., as long as you've covered this league and been around it, when do you do the same thing? When does a coach has a generational talent and he refuses to sign an extension? Now, we've seen those guys get fired, but to not sign an extension when you got a Luka, when you got a LeBron, when you got a Larry Bird or Magic, that doesn't happen. And so there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, but it seems to me the Mavericks were had it up to here, and whatever here is it here? Is it here? But they had had enough of Luka, and they didn't believe. We don't trust you now, and you're making 40. If we give you 70, there's no possible way we can control you.
You know, one of the things that, in just talking to so many people, I remember I decided to just revisit Nico Harrison's resume. And this man played basketball at West Point, military discipline, that kind of thing. Been an executive at Nike for 19 years. Who has he worked with? Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Jason Kidd, etc. You saw that. And what do we rave about? Whether they win, if they won, give it a week. They win a championship, they win a week. They win, and a week later, what are we doing? What are we doing to prepare for next year? If they lost, they ain't even wait a week. Somebody like Kobe shoots air balls as a rookie, for crying out loud, gets off the team plane after landing back in Los Angeles and goes straight to the gym. Family looking for him and everything like that because he's in the gym shooting baskets because of all the baskets he had missed in that putting with the air balls with Utah. And then we know what his career ultimately materialized into. They weren't saying those kind of things about Luka. Instead, they were saying he was listed at 230 and he was coming into camp at 260. 30 pounds overweight, out of shape, not committed, etc. How much truth there is to that, one would surmise. Maybe it was embellished to some degree, but when you look at this, clearly it wasn't embellished in their eyes. They meant it. For them to move away from a guy that is an international basketball superstar, international, you understand, the world over, and to let him walk out the door at age 25 when a bad season for him is averaging more than 25 a game, okay? To let that man walk away like that, there has to be so much more to how bad things were between him and the Mavericks organization. And then they don't usually, like, if they got love for you or whatever, they're gonna let your agent know. They're gonna tip you off. What they're not gonna do is cost you over $100 million. They don't do that to people unless you're just somebody they have no use for. And they're not gonna say it like that, but clearly that's what the Dallas Mavericks were feeling to make this kind of move, knowing the kind of detrimental effect it could have on Luka Doncic, at least for the immediate moment. We know he'll make the money up. He is who he is. But I'm just saying for the immediate moment, they're sending a message. Go ahead, Wendy.
You're absolutely right. And remember, Rudy Gobert went for four first-round picks. They got Anthony Davis in one. Not the 2027. They just got the 2031. Not a pick swap. They say, nah, we good. Stephen A., I've said this a lot, and you've heard me say it. People will tolerate you until they can replace you. I don't care. Who do you think you are? You can go to the job place. You can go in professional sports. As soon as they can replace you, they will, especially if you got questionable behavior. This tells you a lot, because the fact that they didn't shop him when they could have got a smorgasbord of picks. Think about what what Oklahoma got for Shai Gilgeous when the Clippers traded him. Think about what they got for him. Luka, 5 consecutive first teams All-Pro. All NBA selection. He's 25. Like I said, my ears started perking up when Carlisle wouldn't resign, and you start hearing this little murmurings and here and there. Man, there's so much going on. But you're right, Stephen A. The Mavericks says we're tired. We're tired of this because we don't believe if we give you $69 a year, it's going to get any better. Because sometimes you can look at, maybe a change of scenery is what Luka needs. Maybe he'll get it now. Like, damn, I just lost $116 million just like that. Maybe that's what he needs. But they felt in Dallas, him making 40+ million, it wasn't going to get any better if we gave him 69, because then we absolutely could not control him. Because he gets to the first or the second year of that deal, and normally money doesn't change. It makes you more what you already are. So if you're disciplined, hard-headed, it's going to make you worse because you're going to become emboldened by the said power of money. I'm shocked that this happened, but it says a lot about how the organization felt about Luka Doncic at this time.
I'm so glad, Steve, that you brought up Nico Harrison's resume.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check that it's not going into overtime before you storm the court. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Because there's a couple of things on this resume that I think are fascinating. One is that he's worked with Rob Pelinka for 20 years. When Rob Pelinka brought Kobe Bryant as a young agent from Adidas to Nike, the point person on the recruitment was a young executive at Nike, Nico Harrison. These are guys who have done big, important deals with important high-level players for 2 decades. The second thing is I want to talk about 2 things that Nico Harrison has done as the general manager of the Mavericks. Number 1, he traded for Kyrie Irving. He traded for Kyrie Irving at a time where his value was very low. I thought it was a mistake. I told him so. We were across the street for LeBron breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record. Nico had come in because he had such a relationship with LeBron, and I said, I think you made a bad mistake there. And I had to apologize to him last year because I said, you know what, it was a really shrewd move. He took a risk, knowing the personalities, knowing the team, knowing what his team needed, and it paid off. Stephen A., he also wouldn't pay Jalen Brunson. He could have given him an extension. When he did, they viewed him kind of as not as a superstar or even a star. They kind of valued him as a high-level backup. They didn't extend him. They were looking for other things. So I would say that, and by the way, everybody has pluses and minuses. So here's the thing, guys. Is this going to be a Jalen Brunson where it's a huge whiff, or is this going to be a Kyrie Irving where it's a gigantic hit? It only matters in the whole history of the Mavericks franchise.
Yeah, well, if the issue is him staying ready and getting in shape, no one better to learn from than LeBron James, even though I don't really understand how they're going to work on the court together in terms of fit, which we'll get into in just a bit.
First of all, they received a call about 2 weeks ago from Nico Harrison. And obviously Nico and Rob Pelinka go back a very, very long ways. All right, so they have that relationship and that communication. Outside of them, the only people who knew were the owners, okay? Once you get to that point, what does that mean? What that means is that LeBron James didn't know, Anthony Davis didn't know. Rich Paul didn't know. Bill Duffy didn't know. Luka Doncic did not know. Okay? And you could see by the shot. Anthony Davis just closed on the $32 million mansion in Bel Air. You got to put that on the market now, unless he wants to keep it and go there in the offseason. Luka Doncic just closed on the $12 million house in Dallas, okay, which is nothing.
I'm sure it's very nice.
I'm sure it's very nice, okay. But the bottom line is this. They were planting their roots. They didn't see this coming. And for LeBron not to see this coming, it's a very, very big deal. Now, there's a lot of people out there that's going to throw clutch sports into the mix because they're going to say, Lakers want to send a message, Clutch Sports isn't running things, we're running things, et cetera, et cetera. In fairness to Clutch Sports, it's very important.
Find the lowest priced health plans
Last
at
video on the stream,
healthforcalifornia.com. Get a quote in 30 seconds.
There aren't many things that can stop the entire NBA world in its tracks at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. Did someone score 100 points? Did LeBron hastily retire in the middle of the season? What, did Michael Jordan come back out of retirement? What could possibly get everyone riled up out of nowhere? Oh my God. We all said in unison as news broke that the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I figured this was just some big elaborate hack job, and I was waiting for follow-up tweets saying, false alarm, the Mavericks actually aren't brain dead. I can't believe you guys fell for it. But within minutes, it was clear that this trade was unfortunately very real, and the Mavericks are in fact out of their minds. The same player who Mark Cuban said he would rather leave his wife before giving up, the same player who was responsible for a third of the organization's finals appearances, the same player who by the grace of God miraculously fell into their lap 7 years ago, is now gone. And after looking at the reported details of this exchange, how it went down and who was involved, this is, without exaggeration, the most shocking trade in NBA history. Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings. Super Bowl 59 is right around the corner, and DraftKings is here to make the big game even better because they are offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. And yes, you heard that correctly. An automatic $200 in bonus bets for all new customers who place any $5 wager. And you can use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you can still join in on the action with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have your shot at cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code Jimmy Highroller, bet just $5 on any wager, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code Jimmy Highroller, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Now that we've had about a day to digest the Luka AD trade, by now the reality of the situation should be setting in. It has not. A trade so insane that fans are now theorizing if the league did it for the sake of ratings. Imagine concocting a deal so heinous that your fans literally think you're doing it for clout. That is how crazy this trade is. And there's about a dozen reasons why this is legitimately the most shocking deal we have ever seen. First, according to multiple sources, none of the players even knew this trade was happening. Not Luka, not Anthony Davis, not even the Lakers GM LeBron James. As some sources put it, this deal materialized in the shadows. In the shadows? What is this, the Illuminati? What do you mean in the shadows? And turns out this was the cleanest way this deal could have gone down. Because the next component that makes this truly the craziest trade to ever happen, Luka never requested a trade. He's been in Dallas his entire career, and outside of a few rumors, nothing suggested he wouldn't be a lifer in that organization. There wasn't any buildup, there wasn't any reports of a disgruntled Luka making demands. It just happened, out of the blue. Which is reason number 3. The Mavs just traded away a top 3 asset in the NBA without even shopping him. No bidding wars, no asking around and assessing other offers. They just made the call to the Lakers and accepted the deal. Can you imagine the haul Dallas would have got if they actually shopped Luka around the league for a couple of months? Oh, you want to give us Luka? Here is our entire franchise, the players, the coaches, the building, the staff. My first pick. Take it all. Thanks for doing business. I'll figure out the details later. Rudy Gobert is worth 2 starters, 5 first-rounders, and a pick swap. If Mikal Bridges is worth 5 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and a swap. If an aging Paul George is worth a rising SGA, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps, can you imagine what a prime Luka Doncic would have fetched to the right team? Oh wait, I know. A 31-year-old Anthony Davis and a thank you note. It makes no sense. And that brings up reason number 4. The Mavericks were just in the finals last year. We've seen players sign with other teams after a finals run. We've seen players demand trades after a great season. But we have never seen a team willingly cough up a megastar after being just 3 games away from winning a championship. It's unthinkable. Because reason number 5, it's Luka freaking Doncic. You do not trade Luka Doncic. If you were to rank players in the NBA on their trade value, starting with the players who are the most untouchable, non-negotiable, hang up the phone, and down from there,
Luka's at the top of the list.
That can match your drive and
Don't trade him.
Don't settle for.
Luka is probably 3rd or 4th on that list. The only 2 players definitively ahead of him are Wemby and Jokic. Now just try to wrap your head around the deal a team would have to offer in exchange for Nikola Jokic, or what the Bucks would get in return for Giannis. Here's a hint, there isn't one, because they would never trade them away. The deal doesn't exist. Tim McMahon of ESPN reported that Dallas had 2 major concerns in regards of Luka's future with the franchise. The first one being his massive $345 million 5-year extension, which he would have been eligible for this summer, and the second concern being his health and conditioning. In other words, the man was out of shape. So, let me get this straight. The Dallas Mavericks just traded away the best player of a generation, the future of their franchise, and the man that just got them to the finals on one leg because he put on a few pounds. For fuck's sake, Zion Williamson ate his way into load management, and he has spent the last 6 seasons in and out of rehab, and the Pelicans are still sticking by him. Now, Zion didn't deserve that stray. Seems like a nice guy. I wish him the best. But you get the point. We are now over a decade into the process, and the Sixers have yet to move on from Embiid. It's one thing for a franchise player to want out, to sign with another team if they aren't happy and the opportunity presents itself. But for a franchise to pull the trigger and get rid of a megastar in his prime because of constant conditioning issues is criminal. There's really no precedent or great comparison for a trade like this. Because in the past, even when teams did trade a superstar, there was context behind those trades that at least made it seem justifiable. Either the star was exiting their prime and the team was trying to salvage some value before they inevitably left, or despite how good the star was, the team wasn't finding much postseason success and wanted to go in a different direction. Or the star was bound to leave anyways, made it known, and the team had no leverage, so they were essentially forced into the trade. This deal between the Mavs and the Lakers has none of those elements involved. Luka didn't request a trade, he's 25 years old in his prime, and the Mavericks championship window just opened up. Now, as a Blazers fan, I am painfully aware of how hard it is to get your hands on a true franchise player. Painfully aware. In our team's entire 55-year existence, we've had 3. The first one got hurt, the second one was incredible, the potential third one got hurt, and the actual third one was also incredible. That's about 1 superstar every 20 years. What does the lackluster history of my team have to do with this trade? Well, because the Mavericks should know a thing or two about keeping their hands on a generational talent. Because in their franchise's history, they've only had 2 of them, Dirk Nowitzki and Luka Doncic. The first one spent his entire 21-year career in Dallas, facing ups and downs and winning arguably the heaviest and most challenging championship of our lifetime. And the second one, they traded away for AD in a box of scraps after just 6.5 seasons of a promising career. And as every fan of a non-major market team knows all too well, generational talents only come along once in a generation. The Mavericks aren't some hotspot for superstar talent. They don't get real chances to win it all often. Just 3 trips to the finals in 45 years. One of those trips at the hands of the guy who they just sent packing. They cannot afford to roll the dice and hope for greener pastures like some other teams can. You are not the Lakers. You get a player like Luka and you lock that man in and throw away the key. What are we doing? It could be another 20 years before a player of Luka's caliber puts on a Mavericks jersey. And the team traded him away because he was mildly out of shape. It makes me sick. This is coming from a desperate man who's got 18 years left before I see another Dame. Which brings us to their second concern. Again, according to sources, the Mavericks were not keen on giving Luka an extension that would have made him the highest paid player in the league. But if the third best player in the world who gets better in the playoffs is a perennial MVP candidate who's hitting his prime isn't worth paying, then who the hell is? Dallas said that this was a win-now trade, an oxymoron of a statement considering who they just traded and where he just got them last season. But superstars win championships. Superstars also cost a lot of money. And if you're not willing to empty your pockets, how committed are you to actually winning? In what world has being cheap ever won a team a title? It just seems completely counterintuitive to what they're trying to accomplish. Now, the implications of this trade for the Lakers are just as drastic, but for entirely different reasons. For starters, this will be the first time in LeBron's entire career, youth, high school, NBA, a lifetime of basketball, where he won't be the best player on his team, which is already a huge adjustment for him and the team as a whole, but specifically because Luka and LeBron essentially do the same exact thing.
My name is John. I'm 45 years old, and I love being active, playing basketball, going on runs, surfing. As I get older, I'm experiencing more and more pain in my feet, and it's keeping me
Undersized on-ball floor generals with elite scoring abilities. In fact, they not only have the same skill set, they take on the exact same roles on the court. LeBron has always initiated the offense, even if it meant relegating point guards to other positions. And this usually worked in the past because no one did what LeBron could do nearly as good as he could do it. But now there's a guy who can do what LeBron can do, only better. So that means unless Luka and the Lakers are okay with him getting neutralized, LeBron will have to truly play off ball and within the flow of the offense for the first time in about 2 decades. 2 LeBrons on 1 team. Sounds great in theory, probably a bit redundant. Which leads me to believe the Lakers are actually playing a longer game with this trade. Sources report that the Mavericks are the ones that approached LA with this trade. And despite the Lakers playing fairly well as of late, I think they knew their chances of winning another title with the LeBron-AD duo was getting slim. So with the option of trading away key pieces and tripling down on a 40-year-old LeBron to carry them to the promised land, or trade for a megastar that just showed up on their doorstep 5 minutes ago, they couldn't book AD's flight to Dallas quick enough. Which makes me think this move was the first step into the post-LeBron era in Los Angeles. As we all know, LeBron will more than likely retire within a season or 2, and the Lakers needed a new face for their franchise, and they just got it. Inexplicably, miraculously, in the most Lakers way imaginable. I always wondered what LeBron's final years would look like, how he would go out, who would be around him, but never in my wildest dreams did I imagine it would be playing second fiddle to Luka Doncic in a Lakers jersey. All in all, it seems like the Mavericks won this trade, if you zoom way in and look at this in an 18-month window. But zoom out, and the Lakers are looking around asking themselves how they just pulled off a bank heist. With AD, the Mavericks lineup looks good, possibly a winning formula. But the Lakers got Luka Doncic, and in 20 years, fans will look back and wonder how one of the greatest players of all time in his prime was traded away on a random Saturday night.